This is eternal human spirit, where every story proves why humanity never breaks.
The galaxy's cruel laughter. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless civilizations, each rising and falling over thousands of years, towering empires ruled with iron fists, and ancient species moved stars like toys. Yet, in this endless sea of power, there was one species that most races barely noticed. A young race, fragile, still stumbling as it learned how to stand among the stars. They were called humans. In the grand chamber of the Selar Dominion, the largest gathering of alien rulers in the galaxy, 1,000 voices echoed under a dome carved from black stone and lit by rivers of molten fire. Here, the most powerful species decided the fate of worlds. They spoke of trade, of war, of slaves, and of conquest. Today, however, the conversation had turned to one subject only: humanity. "They are weak," a scaled reptilian overlord sneered, his tongue flicking like a snake tasting prey. "Their bones snap too easily. Their skin tears with a single claw. They are unfit to rule anything, not even themselves. They are short-lived," another alien laughed, a being made of crystal and light. "Their lives burn out before they can even understand the universe. How can such creatures matter when their entire existence is a blink compared to ours?" The chamber filled with amusement, with mockery, with cruel laughter that shook the walls, images of humans struggling on colonies, fighting with outdated weapons, begging for mercy from stronger alien races were displayed in the air. The crowd roared, the laughter grew. They enjoyed it as one enjoys a cruel play. At the edge of the council, a warlord of the Veyroth, a species with armored hides and massive strength, raised his hand. Silence fell quickly. His voice was deep like thunder. "Let me remind you," he said slowly, "these humans are not only weak, they are dangerous to themselves. They cling to strange ideas, loyalty, emotion, sacrifice. They are irrational, but they are no threat to us." The silence broke once again into laughter. "Yes," said another, a tall insectoid queen, her voice clicking with delight. "They die for nothing. For love, for family. What a foolish concept. Imagine dying for one child, one mate, instead of serving the Empire. It is pathetic." The words spread like poison across the chamber, and the galaxy's greatest rulers agreed. They declared humanity insignificant, a race doomed to serve, to kneel, to obey. Yet as they laughed, their laughter carried an edge of fear. They did not admit, deep inside, something about humans unsettled them. For in the history of the galaxy, no other species had ever fought so fiercely without hope of victory. When others surrendered, humans resisted. When others gave up, humans endured. When others scattered, humans united. But the council ignored this truth, blinded by arrogance. In the back of the chamber, hidden among the shadows, a lone observer watched. He was not human, but his people had lived near human colonies for years. He had seen something the council refused to see. He had seen a mother shielding her child from blaster fire with her own body. He had seen a father fight against armored invaders with nothing but a hammer in his hand. He had seen young men and women carry the wounded across burning fields while refusing to retreat. He whispered to himself, unheard by the roaring council, "They laugh now, but one day the galaxy will remember these humans." The chambers. Laughter grew louder, echoing through the great halls of the Selar Dominion. Aliens mocked the very idea that humans could ever rise beyond their fragile bodies, their short lives, their tiny worlds. To them, humanity was only a joke, a species, meant to amuse the strong. But the galaxy had never seen the power of family, never seen the fire that burned in human hearts. For while the galaxy measured strength by weapons and armies, humans carried a different kind of power, invisible, uncountable, unbreakable. It was the power that made them fight against impossible odds, the power that made them rise again even. After being crushed, the power that made them say, "I will not give up, because my family still needs me." The council believed this was weakness, but they were wrong, terribly wrong, and soon the galaxy would learn. Their cruel laughter would one day turn into silence, and that silence would be filled with fear, for the day would come when aliens no longer mocked humanity but trembled before it. The first test of humanity. The invasion came without warning. The alien fleets descended upon the human colony of Ardent Prime like shadows blotting out the stars. Their warships were massive, bristling with weapons, glowing with energy that could tear apart entire cities in seconds. The alien commanders expected an easy conquest. They thought the battle would be swift, a victory to laugh about in their halls, for they had crushed stronger species before, and humans were considered the weakest of all. The colony was a small one, filled with miners, farmers, engineers, and children. They had no mighty defenses, no great armies, no fleets to protect them. The alarm bells rang through the settlement and panic filled the air. Families rushed to gather loved ones hiding in bunkers, praying for safety. But among the chaos, something happened that the aliens did not expect. The humans did not run to surrender. They ran to defend. Ordinary men and women, with nothing but hunting rifles, mining tools, and their bare hands, stood against soldiers bred for war. A father who had never held a weapon before lifted one to protect his wife. A mother stood in front of her children with nothing but a kitchen blade. An old miner armed himself with his drill and faced armored invaders without fear to the aliens. It looked foolish, but to the humans it was instinct. The first shots were fired. Alien energy beams scorched through the streets. Buildings collapsed. Smoke filled the skies. Yet the humans refused to fall back. They fought from windows, from rooftops, from narrow alleys, striking back with whatever they had. Some were killed. Instantly, others fought until their last breath, whispering the same words again and again. "For my family," the phrase spread like fire. Each human fighting not for empire, not for glory, but for the ones they loved. The alien commanders watched the resistance with growing confusion. Their soldiers reported heavy losses, not because humans were stronger, but because they would not stop fighting. They should have surrendered. They should have begged for mercy. But instead, they stood again and again, even when wounded, even when dying. A commander sneered and asked, "Why do they not yield?" Another replied with disbelief, "They fight for family." By the end of the first day, Ardent Prime was burning, but the aliens had suffered more resistance than they had imagined. Entire squads of their soldiers were wiped out by desperate human groups who fought until none were left standing. To the aliens, it was madness. To the humans, it was duty, for in the face of overwhelming force, they had chosen to show the galaxy what it meant to be human. That night, as the survivors of the colony hid in underground shelters, an old man whispered to the children huddled around him, his voice tired but filled with pride. "Remember this night," he said. "They thought we would bow, but instead we showed them we fight for family." And though the children trembled in fear, a spark lit within their eyes, the kind of spark that would spread across humanity like wildfire. The human spirit revealed. The alien fleet reported their victory to the council, but it was not celebrated as they had expected, for while they had conquered Ardent Prime, the cost was far higher than they had predicted, and whispers spread among the rulers of the galaxy. Whispers of human defiance. Alien leaders reviewed the battle recordings, and they did not laugh this time. Instead, they frowned, confused, and unsettled. In one recording, a wounded soldier was seen dragging his friend across the battlefield. Even as fire rained down from above, the alien commander had shouted at him, demanding to know why he risked his life for someone already half dead. The human's voice, weak but firm, had answered, "Because he is my brother." In another recording, A woman stood against a squad of armored soldiers, shielding 3 children with her own body. She did not run. She did not beg. She stood like a wall of flesh against steel, and when she fell, the children picked up her weapon and continued her fight. The alien council could not understand. They lived in a galaxy where the strong ruled and the weak perished, where survival was all that mattered. But humans spoke of things beyond survival. They spoke of sacrifice, of loyalty, of family. To the council, these were foolish ideals. Yet, they had seen how such ideals made humans refuse to break, and that frightened them more than any weapon. In the interrogation chambers of the alien empire, captured humans were questioned. The aliens demanded to know why they resisted, why they did not simply accept their weakness. The humans gave the same answer every time, spoken in different words but carrying the same meaning. I fight for my wife. I fight for my son. I fight for my people. The aliens grew frustrated, shouting that such things meant nothing, but in their hearts a shadow of doubt began to grow. One alien general, who had long believed in strength above all, found himself unable to sleep after watching the footage. He saw the faces of humans fighting with nothing but stones against his soldiers. He saw them standing shoulder to shoulder. Even when they had no chance of victory, he remembered how they looked at each other, with trust, with love, with determination, and he whispered to himself, "They are weak, yes, but why do I feel that they are stronger than us?" Across the galaxy, tales of human defiance began to spread, carried by traitors, by mercenaries, even by deserters from alien armies who had witnessed it firsthand. Stories of humans fighting not for power, but for family. Stories of their refusal to surrender. Stories that made other species stop and wonder, could weakness truly be strength? Could love truly be more powerful than fear? For the first time, the galaxy stopped laughing. For the first time, they began to watch. And for the first time, they began to fear. The turning point. The galaxy believed that the conquest of humanity would be easy. Yet, as the months passed, the alien empires found themselves facing something they had never seen before. Whenever they destroyed one colony, another rose in defiance. Whenever they broke one army, civilians picked up the weapons and fought on. It was not the strength of their fleets or the power of their technology that shocked the invaders. It was the unity that stretched from one world to another. On the colony world of Haven's Reach, the aliens launched an attack that was supposed to crush human resistance once and for all. They came with overwhelming numbers, their ships darkening the skies, their ground forces marching like rivers of steel. But when they landed, they did not find a frightened population begging for mercy. They found families working side by side, soldiers standing with engineers, children carrying supplies, and elders guiding the young. The battle raged for days. Human cities burned, their defenses cracked, yet they did not break. Mothers carried weapons into the front lines to protect their children. Fathers fought even as they bled, and in the shadows of collapsing towers, families huddled together, whispering not words of fear, but words of courage. "Hold on, for family." The aliens grew frustrated, their superior weapons destroyed. Buildings but could not shatter human will. One alien commander, watching from above, reported back to the council. "This is not war as we know it," he said with disbelief. "This is something different. They are not fighting for territory. They are not fighting for glory. They are fighting for each other, and it makes them impossible to defeat." The council dismissed his words, claiming that humanity would eventually tire, but deep inside, fear crept into their hearts. For at Haven's Reach, the galaxy witnessed the first true turning point. Humanity was no longer the prey. They were becoming something far more dangerous, a family of billions united against those who sought to break them, when family becomes a weapon. The alien empire thought that by spreading terror they would finally crush human spirit. They burned entire cities to the ground. They destroyed homes. They targeted civilians. believing that fear would make humanity surrender, but instead of breaking them, it only awakened something far more powerful. On Earth itself, as smoke filled the skies of fallen cities, messages spread through every channel, through every soldier, through every child who could still speak. The message was simple: "We fight as one family." This phrase echoed across planets, across colonies, across battlefields, and it became the weapon that no empire could silence. When one city fell, survivors carried the fight to the next. When one ship was destroyed, another rushed in to shield the survivors. When families were torn apart, their grief turned into fire that fueled entire armies. The aliens realized too late that their greatest mistake was underestimating love. For love became rage, and rage became strength. At the siege of Titan's Gate, a strategic outpost in the outer system, humans were outnumbered 5-1, their defenses shattered, their commanders wounded. The aliens announced their victory too soon, for suddenly, civilians who had been evacuated returned in stolen ships. Families who had lost everything charged into the battlefield. Entire groups of engineers, miners, and farmers armed themselves and joined the soldiers. The aliens were overwhelmed not by superior weapons, but by the sheer will of ordinary humans who refused to surrender. An alien officer watching the chaos shouted in disbelief, "This is madness." But his superior, older and wiser, whispered in horror, "No, this is family, and it is the most dangerous force in the galaxy." From that moment, the galaxy realized that humanity did not fight with fleets or armies alone. They fought with the strength of love, with the unity of family, and that turned every man, woman, and child into a weapon the galaxy could not defeat. The Great Defiance. The final test came at the Battle of Seoul. The aliens gathered their largest fleet, a force so great that it had crushed entire civilizations. In the past, they believed this would finally end the human problem. They would burn Earth itself, erase the homeworld, and scatter humanity forever. But when the invasion began, what they saw stunned even the most hardened warlords. Every human ship, no matter how damaged, no matter how small, joined the fight. Crippled freighters rammed enemy cruisers, battered destroyers shielded troop carriers, and dying captains shouted the same words before their ships were torn apart. For family! Above Earth's skies, the battle was chaos. Fire and light filled the heavens, but in the heart of the storm, the humans held. Fleets that should have fallen in hours fought for days. Soldiers who should have surrendered kept firing until their weapons melted in their hands. Civilians turned into fighters. Families turned into armies. An alien commander reported to the council in panic. "They will not break, even when they are dying. They fight as if death itself cannot stop them." And he was right, for humanity had reached its greatest defiance, the moment when love and loyalty turned weakness into unshakable strength. Though countless humans died, their sacrifice carved fear into the heart of the galaxy. For never before had the alien empires seen such a people. Never before had they faced an enemy who fought not for power, but for family. And in that defiance, humanity proved they were not prey. They were a storm that could not be stopped. The lesson the galaxy learned. When the war ended, silence spread across the galaxy. The alien council that once laughed at humanity now sat in shame. Their recordings showed not weakness but unbreakable courage, not fragility but unshakable love. Humanity had bled, humanity had burned, but humanity had not surrendered. Across alien worlds, whispers spread like wind. Stories of mothers shielding children with their own lives. Of fathers standing against armies with bare hands, of children carrying ammunition to fighters. These stories reached even the youngest of alien children, who asked their parents, "Would you fight like the humans?" And many parents lowered their heads, unable to answer. The galaxy had mocked humanity for being weak, but now they saw the truth. Humans were strong not because of their weapons, not because of their armies, but because of the invisible bond that tied them together, because of their families, because of their love, and so. The galaxy learned a lesson that would never be forgotten, a lesson written not in words but in sacrifice, not in speeches but in blood, the lesson that weakness can become strength, that love can become a weapon, that family can move the stars. The aliens no longer laughed. They no longer mocked. Instead, they watched in silence, for they knew that if humanity could endure such trials for family, then there was no force in the galaxy that could ever truly defeat them. And in the quiet after the storm, one truth echoed. Across the stars, whispered by friend and enemy alike, they are not weak, they are human, and they fight for family.
Thank you for joining Eternal Human Spirit, where humanity always rises again.